Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. This is Hot Sauce for Breakfast, in what is going... I don't want to say a slow battle, because it isn't, but it's definitely very methodical. What I mean by that is, Hot Sauce for Breakfast here, he doesn't rush into anything. He always knows exactly what he's going to do before he does it. That's what I mean by methodical. Now, the ship that he's sailing, you could be forgiven for not having the faintest idea what that is. That's the brand new Tier 6 European destroyer. Don't know how to pronounce it. I mean, it looks fairly straightforward. It's the Stord. But it's Norwegian, so it's probably pronounced Stjord or something like that. I don't know. Yes, that's right. More European destroyers. It's very easy if you just given up trying to keep track, because do you know how many destroyers there are in the European tree right now? Bearing in mind that you don't start getting destroyers until tier 2, because at tier 1 it's a starting cruiser, so there's only actually 9 tiers available for destroyers to be in, and Europe has 23 of them. More on that later, because it does sound ridiculous, but it does, even from an historical perspective, make a certain amount of sense. But like I said, more on that later. For now, Hot Sauce here is very cautiously approaching the Charlie cap. And the only backup and support he has is a submarine, who I have no idea who he's firing those torpedoes at, because nothing's been detected. Yeah, that submarine captain, I don't know, maybe this is his first time playing a submarine. You'll understand what I mean as the battle develops. Quick look at the matchmaking, by the way. You'll notice that Hot Sauce has turned his AA guns and secondaries off, even though there is no carrier in this battle. But that doesn't mean there aren't battleships that can launch spotter aircraft. And generally speaking, it's just a good habit to get into. You don't want your AA guns off and giving your position away without wanting it to happen. So, enemy gator spotted. He realises he's been spotted and he smokes up. Now, this wouldn't normally be a problem, because if you're in the smoke screen, you're not spotting anymore, but then the enemy submarine pops up. And he's now spotting, which means the Gator is free to fire from the smoke screen with complete impunity, and this is not really a situation you want to be in. Oh yeah, speaking of the matchmaking, 3 battleships, 3 destroyers, 3 submarines, and 1 extremely nervous cruiser per team. Well, the good news is his shots have forced the enemy submarine to submerge, and he's actually properly submerged. He's not even at periscope depth, so there's no longer anybody spotting him. And he did take a double ping there from the enemy submarine, but he mitigated the first one with his damage control, and the damage control was still active when the second ping hit him, so that didn't affect him either. Enemy team have inflicted the first casualty on the other side of the map over at Alpha, with the Almirante Cochrane taking out the friendly Gator, and the enemy submarine appears to be just kind of flailing around randomly with his sonar pings. He's just kind of spamming them all over the place without... I don't know why he's not at periscope depth. I mean, I know why he's not at periscope depth now, he's too close, but earlier he just deep dived instead of staying at periscope depth, and maybe keeping Hot Sauce spotted so the Gator over there on the enemy team could have perhaps done something about it, but yeah, thinking is hard. I don't know if the Gator over there realises he's not just fighting another destroyer, there's a submarine here too. I mean, surely he does, because, you know, torpedoes. Meanwhile, the enemy team claim their second kill. They've just neutralised the friendly T-22. I mean, it's possible, I suppose, that the Gator over there doesn't realise he's fighting a submarine as well as a destroyer, and he does have the health advantage, so it seems, at least on the surface, no pun intended, reasonable that he should choose to stick around and fight. But he's not going to have the health advantage for much longer. Now, that didn't kill him outright, because these are European torpedoes. Well, technically you could argue they're British, because this ship was actually built by the Royal Navy, so they didn't do a lot of damage. And I'm wondering why the Gator has stopped shooting, and then I see his torpedoes, and okay, yeah, that explains it. May seem like a stupid decision to stop shooting in the middle of a gunfight, but honestly, the only way the Gator was going to survive the situation he got himself into there was to get some torpedo hits on Hot Sauce. So he tried, but, you know, he failed. Now, where did that submarine go? I can see an oil patch over there. He has managed to score some depth charge hits on that guy, but he hasn't sunk him Oh, there go his torpedoes. Not aimed at anything in particular. There's the sonar ping, which does catch him, but generally speaking, you want to sonar ping somebody before you launch the torpedoes at close range, not after. Also, a good general rule of thumb is to have your torpedo tubes pointing in the direction of the thing that you're trying to sink. I tend to find that most submarines get better results that way. Oh well, never mind. Wow, we got him with a torpedo. Was that your first time playing submarines as well? Right, anyway. 2 kills brings the team's total up to 3, so they're on par with the enemy team for kills, at the moment at least. Although, not so much on points, because the enemy team have 1 cap circle, they're flipping another. And Hot Sauce for Breakfast definitely needs to loiter around here and not get spotted and interrupted while he caps this one. So while he's doing that, let's have a quick chat about those European destroyers. Oh, hello, the friendly Bayern's managed to get a kill. Alright, things are looking pretty good, don't worry. As soon as the enemy flips that central cap at Bravo, they're not going to look good for long. So yes, European destroyers. Why is it that in a tech tree that has 9 tiers available for destroyers to be in, the European tree has 23 destroyers? Well, on the one hand, it's because World of Warships is fast approaching, or in fact has already crossed the line that World of Tanks crossed years ago. But there's just so many new premiums and shit coming out that it becomes impossible to keep track. On the other hand, you can kind of appreciate why it's destroyers, because we're talking about the European Navy here. Even though there's no such thing as a European Navy, but all of the European nations, and yes, I know, but we're going to count Britain amongst them for the moment, that actually had significant shipbuilding industries are already in the game and present in their own national tech trees. So Britain, Germany, France and Italy. What you have left are other nations like Norway, Sweden, Austro-Hungary, nations that never really had significant shipbuilding industries, or nations that had shipbuilding industries but didn't have the infrastructure required to support large-scale warship building industries. So countries like Spain, for example. And yes, I know I've skipped out Turkey and Poland, but they both fall into one of those 2 categories as well. The thing is, it's not that these nations didn't have shipbuilding industries. I mean, look at the Norwegian fishing fleet, for example, but there's a world of difference between building a fishing trawler and building a heavy cruiser. That said, it's not that difficult to build a destroyer. And in fact, a lot of nations, Britain and the Royal Navy included, did take fishing trawlers and put guns and sensors on them and use them as patrol ships. So it's not that difficult to build destroyers if you've already got some kind of basic shipbuilding industry going. Which is why, despite the ridiculous numbers of destroyers available in the European tree, it's not really that far-fetched. And even if you couldn't build them, you could always buy them from people who could, which is exactly what this ship, the Steward, is. It's actually a British S-class destroyer, HMS Success. I do have to say, those torpedoes are looking very, very good. But remember, they don't do a huge individual amount of damage. Then again, if you can hit with 4 of them and cause a double flood. And we've only got the 1 surviving friendly submarine now, just 1 U-69, who has only now just turned around to engage the New Mexico behind him. That U-69 there has been trying to chase and catch the Britannia that just got finished off by the friendly Queen Elizabeth, rather than stick some torpedoes in the water at that incredibly slow-moving and massive target that was labouring to catch up with him. But he's taken the hint now, he's got some torpedoes away. And Hot Sauce has just been spotted. But this is what I'm talking about, slow method. Ooh, he's loaded the high explosive, and he's missed. Okay. That could have been dangerous. He's going to get the torpedoes away here. You'll notice he's not shooting at the New Mexico, because he wants to get over the border of the cap circle here, because taking that cap is more important. Smokescreen once you get over the cap circle border? Yes, there it is. Okay, good. Okay, the New Mexico got lucky with the second salvo. Did set a fire, but the damage control was free, so this is no problem. He is now safe. And he can now start shooting at the New Mexico. As long as the U-69 keeps spotting him. There's another couple of great torpedo hits and a fire. I think the U-69 must have previously scored a torpedo hit with his stern tubes on the New Mexico, which is why the New Mexico isn't using its damage control and is continuing to flood and burn. I did think for a second that the U-69 was continuing to be useful here and spotting that New Mexico, but no, he's at a depth of 30 meters, and the only reason we can still see the New Mexico is because he's just fired his guns, and now he's dead. No thanks to the U-69, and that's Hot Sauce's third kill. It's still a very, very even match, at least as far as kills are concerned, but definitely not points, because the enemy team had held on to 2 cap circles for as long as they did. They're about 150 points ahead. However, because Hot Sauce for Breakfast is flipping this central cap, they're going to start to close that gap. Yeah, they're about 140 points ahead now. But that gap is going to start to narrow. As long as the team don't lose any more ships. Bayern, what are you doing? I mean, it's not like the Bayern's suiciding or anything. He is kind of trying to disengage and possibly recover some health, but sailing straight towards the last reported position of the submarine that was about to sink you was probably not the best way to do that, and this could be trouble. There's the Farragut, and he's on a bit of a roll as well, but, well, he runs into a torpedo too. And that was incredibly lucky for Hot Sauce for Breakfast, because the Farragut is a very, very dangerous Tier 6 gunboat. Ooh, I think that's going to be the cachalot that just sank the Bayern. But you don't want to be getting into a gunfight with a Farragut if you can possibly help it, especially not when the Farragut starts that fight with 3 times the amount of health that you had. So that was an extremely lucky torpedo. Either way, the Farragut's dead. I mean, they're still 100 points behind, but that gap is narrowing because they're 1 cap circle up, and the kills are even. It's still 3 versus 3. The only real potential fly in the ointment here is it's 1 extremely low health destroyer, 1 submarine, who I'm not convinced is capable of thinking and breathing at the same time, and 1 battleship against 1 battleship and 2 submarines, and submarines are bullshit. At least if the people playing them are capable of thinking and breathing at the same time. And of the 2 submarines on the enemy team, we can make a reasonable assumption that at least one of them can. So initially, Hot Sauce for Breakfast looked like he was heading over to take advantage of the smoke screen that the Farragut dropped, because American smoke covers a huge area, lasts forever. However, his radio position finder, or whatever the hell they're calling that skill this week, is indicating the location of what is probably an enemy submarine. So let's not get too close to it, because submarines are bullshit. The team have managed to work out, thanks to Hot Sauce's suggestion, that the best way to win this is to just hold and defend this central cap, because the enemy either have to take it off them, in which case they're going to have to come over here and fight, or they're going to have to try to go around. And there isn't enough time left for them to do that and flip the cap circle at Charlie. So there's going to be a fight here at Bravo. This is where they need to draw the line in the sand. The friendly battleship, the Queen Elizabeth, has said, protect me from those submarines and I'll deal with the battleship. The enemy battleship, by the way, is a Bayern, and they're 2 very evenly matched ships, the Bayern and the Queen Elizabeth. The Queen Elizabeth probably has the edge in accuracy, although they're both armed with 15-inch guns, and, well, the Queen Elizabeth pretty much has all of its health. But the Bayern definitely has more armour and is capable of taking a beating. And we just saw the Bayern's spotting plane. There it is again. So we know where the Bayern is, and to be fair to the U-69 on the team, he is actually being useful here. He's at periscope depth, so he can actually see what's coming, and he's heading around the corner of the island to try to get eyes on the Bayern. And if there were any further doubt about the location of that enemy battleship, I mean, the submarine is about to spot him, and there, the salvo flying over the island, so he's clearly not spotting the Queen Elizabeth himself, which means there's a submarine somewhere who's doing it for him. Now, the radio position finder indicator is pointing at, there it is, it just shifted. And of course, Hot Sauce is spotted. So there's a submarine on the surface, or at the very least at periscope depth and nearby, and there it is. And there's 2 of them, because that ping did not come from the submarine that he spotted. So they're both right over there. Now, obviously, he needs to kill them. But he also needs to not get spotted, or at least not be in line of fire of that Bayern, because he's only got 2,500 health left, and even if the Bayern has armour piercing left, it's still going to kill him. What he needs to do now is force both of these submarines to submerge. Because with the U-69 and the Queen Elizabeth engaging the Bayern, these two submarines are both his problem. Now, he's forced the one to submerge, the second one has come up to periscope depth and is on full health. But he's already blown his torpedoes, so he can ping away all he likes. He's waiting for his torpedoes to reload. Fresh torpedoes and another ping coming in from the other submarine. Here come the depth charges. Look at how many depth charge hits it takes to sink this guy. Now, admittedly, they're not direct hits, but, you know, hits are still hits. There's 5, there's 7. Here come more. He's caused a flood. Look at this. 11, 12, 13 depth charge hits before he could sink that submarine. But sinking he did. There's the Kraken unleashed. He's managed to avoid the next set of torpedoes. He's got to wait for the depth charges to come back off cooldown. The Bayern appears to be losing the gunfight with the Queen Elizabeth. He's got no real choice here. He has to continue the fight against this submarine. There go the depth charges. He's in range of the Bayern's secondaries now. Oh, he basically sailed right over the top of them. There's 3 hits, 4 hits. Direct hits. Kill number 6. Torpedoes away against the Bayern. The Bayern's probably not going to take the time to swing his main gun battery turrets around and shoot at Hot Sauce. But hey, why take chances? There's the smoke screen. And, well, Queen Elizabeth did exactly what he said he was going to do. Keep me safe from the submarines and I'll take care of the Bayern. Although if he hadn't, those torpedoes definitely would have. And that would have been Hot Sauce's 7th kill. Well done for an extremely methodically and well played battle, Hot Sauce. Hope you all enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.